What's up, everybody? My name is Josh LaFleur from Late Star Piano. Today, we're going to be comparing the experience of learning how to drive a car to the experience of you learning the piano as an adult. So, that's what this channel is all about, to help the adult beginners learn how to play the piano, unlock your creativity, play songs that you love, and just overall be able to express yourself and have something to work on outside of your day job, outside of your normal life that you actually enjoy doing. And when I started to think about this, how I can kind of make up this analogy of what it's like to actually learn the piano, what the process is going to be once you're in that adult category, I just kept coming back to learning how to drive, because I'm sure everybody who's watching this, if you're in that group, if you are an adult 25 years old or above, you probably have your license, you've driven multiple different vehicles, you might have owned different vehicles, and you've gone through that entire process. So that's what we're going to talk about here today. And without further ado, we'll get into point number one. So when you're first starting to learn the piano as an adult, again, it is overwhelming. And same exact thing when you were learning how to drive. I know in the States and where I live in the state of New Hampshire, you can get your driver's license at 16. You have to go to driver's ed school and you take all the written tests and you take your actual practical driving exam. And if you went to driving school, you pass that, then you can take the test, you pass the test, then you can actually become licensed at age 16, at least in the state where I live here in the States, right? And when you're going through that process, when you're 16 years old and you first get behind the wheel, you might be thinking about a lot of different things. You probably don't know how to shift gears. You don't know where the blinker is. You don't know how to turn on your windshield wipers. You don't know how to turn on the radio. You don't know how to back up. You don't know how much gas to give, how sensitive the brakes might be. There's a lot of things going on when you're first learning how to drive a vehicle, and it can be very overwhelming. You don't really know where things are located. You don't know how to kind of move about in the vehicle as far as what needs to be done while you're driving. Same exact thing when you're learning the piano. You sit down at a piano, this has 88 keys. You're probably looking at this and you're thinking similar thoughts. You're thinking that you're overwhelmed. You don't really know how to begin the process. You don't know where things are located. You don't know where G is versus B flat. You don't know how to move about the piano. You don't know what a sustain pedal is. You don't know what a damper pedal is. You don't really know where anything is located again. And it's just very overwhelming because there's a lot of things that are going on. But you were able to get your license. Now you can drive vehicles. You drive maybe every single day. So you were able to overcome that challenge when you were 16, 17, 18, whatever. Now, when you're learning the piano, it's a very similar feeling, at least to start, right? And that is point number one. Point number two of why they're similar, learning how to drive a vehicle and playing the piano, because it takes a lot of coordination physically, and you also have to be on point mentally, right? So we just gave some examples earlier in point number one, but when you're learning how to drive a vehicle, again, you don't really know how to even move inside of the vehicle. You think of small things like looking at your mirror, right? You're looking at your mirror, you're looking at your rear view mirror, maybe the driver's side mirror or the passenger side mirror before you change lanes. If you're in a parking lot, you're backing up, trying to look out all the windows, physically moving your body, right? So that you can see things, having to lean over maybe if there's some kind of blockage right here, right? Things like that, having to move about the vehicle physically. And on top of that, of course, driving is very mental, right? So you also think of things like driving slower in parking lots, people crossing the street. You think of maybe there's an accident, there's a police officer who pulled somebody over, and now you have to move over or merge onto the highway or merge off of the highway. There's a lot of things that you can be thinking about. You see brake lights ahead of you, right? Hopefully, mentally, you're aware of that. You see the brake lights. And now you have to think, okay, now physically, I need to actually hit the brake pedal and start to slow down, but you can't hit the brake pedal too much because then you stop too fast and you have that jolting feeling, right? And all of these might sound simple now. You're like, of course, right? Very common sense. You see brake lights. That probably means that you should slow down as well and that you should probably hit your brake. But when you were first learning how to drive, that wasn't so simple. You did not know that. It's not something that you're born with, right? Nobody is born with the expertise of being a driver, of knowing how to drive a vehicle, that is something that is taught to you. It's something that you have to actually learn about and something that you have to actually practice doing, right? So there's a mental piece of learning how to drive a vehicle. And of course, you also have that physical piece, all those points we just talked about. Piano is the same exact thing as far as physically, how much pressure to put down on the notes, being able to control how loud or soft you're playing the piano, also known as dynamics, getting up to the proper tempo, right? So how fast or how slow you're playing the piano, and those tempo changes, being able to physically actually do that and physically keep up. You even have a legit pedal. We talked about the sustain pedal already. So you have things going on in your upper body, and then you also have to use your lower body, right? And same exact thing when you're driving. You have your upper body and you literally have pedals, the gas pedal and the brake pedal and the sustain pedal, damper pedal, and whatever else you have with the piano as well, right? So very similar in that regards as well physically. Then you have the mental piece, just that mental awareness, right? Driving, we talked about seeing the brake lights. We talked about people crossing the street. A school bus is pulled over, a police officer is pulled over. You have to actually think and see that and know, okay, I need to move over. Same thing with the piano. You have to have some kind of theory that goes along with it, right? If you have absolutely zero theory and you just start playing random notes, they're probably not going to sound too good unless maybe you're Paul McCartney or John Lennon and you have some kind of natural inborn talent. You just are able to find perfect melodies and perfect harmony to go along with those melodies. If you're not that talented, which you probably aren't, I know I'm not, you have to have some kind of theory that goes along with it. So you have to know what the names of the notes are, at least at a bare minimum. You have to know how to find a C, how to find an A flat, how to find a F chord, right? Different chords you have to be able to find. You have to know your scales. You have to know a lot of different theory, tritones, right? That probably is not going to sound good in a lot of situations, or not that it won't sound good, but it's going to sound very tense and dissonant. And depending on the situation, you might not want a dissonant sound. You might be going for a consonant sound. So if you were going for a consonant sound, meaning it sounds peaceful, it sounds at rest, then you probably don't want to play a tritone because tritones are much more dissonant. They sound not as peaceful, not as restful as like a perfect fifth might sound, right? So you have to know the theory side as well. So again, very similar to learning how to drive a vehicle. A lot of physical things you need to be able to do and mental things as well. You have to have both skill sets to be able to do it well. Next point is mistakes will happen. So driving a vehicle, learning how to drive, you're going to make mistakes, right? You're going to have fender benders. You're going to hit the gas pedal and your e-brake is going to be on, or you're going to be trying to, you think you might be in reverse, but actually you're in drive and you hit the gas pedal and you hit the trash can or you hit the wall, whatever's in front of you. Those mistakes happen. Same thing with the piano. You'll be trying to play a song. You're going to hit the wrong note. You're going to be playing the wrong chord. You're not going to be using the pedal correctly when you should be. Again, very similar. You'll be making the mental mistakes with driving. Hopefully not bad enough where somebody actually gets hurt, but you will be making mental mistakes when driving. Maybe you turn on your left blinker when you meant to turn on your right blinker. And you'll have the physical mistakes we talked about earlier, right? You hit the gas pedal, you think you're in drive, but you're in reverse. Same thing with the piano. You're going to have mental areas, mental mistakes where you're hitting the wrong chord, you're hitting the wrong notes, and you think you have it right, but it's not. And you might have the physical mistakes as well. Same thing, hitting the wrong notes or not using the sustain pedal correctly. Next point, point number 4, the good thing about this is the more you do it, the better you will get, right? Same thing with driving. All those things we just talked about, seeing the brake lights, seeing the school bus pulled over, putting your seatbelt on, all of those things now probably come to you very naturally. You probably get in your vehicle, you don't even think about putting your seatbelt on, you just automatically do it. You want to get in the left-hand lane, you put your left-hand blinker on, you automatically do it. You don't even have to think about it. Doesn't matter if you're in a car full of people, if someone's in the passenger seat, somebody's screaming behind you, right? You have your music playing full blast or some kind of audio book maybe. You can still do all the things you need to do to drive that vehicle safely and to get to your desired destination without even thinking about it, even if you're being distracted by other people or music or whatever. because it's so automatic. You've done it so many times. Same exact thing with the piano. You might be on a different piano. You might be kind of sickly. You might be just tired overall. But as long as you put in enough reps, you've been practicing enough, none of that is going to matter. You're still going to be able to play really well. You're still going to be able to learn songs that you want to learn really well because you've already built that baseline. You have enough reps under your belt. You already have enough skills that distractions or maybe disadvantages that are working against you in the moment, they won't matter because you've already done everything you need to do. And now it's more just maintaining your skill set, right? Maybe if you start practicing the piano for a month, your skills might go down a little bit. Same thing if you don't drive. Excuse me, maybe your vehicle's in the shop, it's getting repaired, and you don't drive for like 2 weeks. When you get behind the wheel again, you might feel a little bit rusty, but all of those things will come back to you once you start getting back into it. That point is all about just making it more natural. You won't have to think about things as much the more you do it. And that's really it. Those were the 4 or 5 points that we had. So just to kind of recap, point number 1, why driving a vehicle. Learning how to drive a vehicle is the same as learning the piano. Everything is overwhelming in the beginning. Everything is overwhelming. You don't know what to do. You don't know where things are. You're just too much is going on. You have to start very slowly. Point number 2, there's a physical side of learning how to drive a vehicle. There's also the mental side of learning how to drive a vehicle. You need both of those to drive safely and to drive successfully. Same thing with learning the piano. You need some kind of baseline of theory. And of course, you need some kind of baseline of being able to physically perform the movements that you need to perform to play whatever it is that you're trying to play. Next point is the more you do it, then the easier it will get. So you will be building that muscle memory, that theory knowledge, and things will just get much easier for you. You won't have to be as overwhelmed. You won't have to start from square one every single time you learn a new song or every single time you drive a different vehicle, because you already have that skill set built up. You already have all the tools you need to do both of those because you put in so many different reps. And the other point was mistakes will happen. So when you're learning, and even when you are much more seasoned, mistakes will happen. You still might get in a fender bender. Again, you still might put on your left-hand blinker. You meant to put on the right-hand blinker. Same thing with the piano. You might make a physical mistake. You might need more work on your theory side. Maybe you don't know how to play a half diminished chord, and that's something you need to learn, right? So there's always more things that you can learn. Mistakes will always happen no matter how long you've been driving or playing the piano, but you will have that baseline knowledge as you get better, as the years progress, and things will overall be much easier for you. So with all that said, I do have a free guide on my website. To get that, link is down below. It will help you to get learning the piano as fast as possible, completely free. It's in the description. I am offering lessons as well via Zoom. To get started with that, send me an email. The email address is below in the description. My name is Josh LaFleur with Late Start Piano, and happy practicing.